Okay, so I had this thought, and please feel free to comment what you think about this. So I'm going to tell you guys a story. So I want you to imagine there's a parent, right? And there's a parent raising this one kid. And then they kind of take a look at the kid and they realize it's going to come a point where this creature is not going to need me anymore. There's going to come a point where this little being is not only are they not going to need me, but they're going to have independent thought to critique me. I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know about you guys, but like I know quite a few people who are parents and they worry about being a bad parent. So this isn't that outlandish. Like a parent looks at their kid and they're like, whoa, like I'm not the best at this. And one day they're going to realize it, right? Do I know if that's an actual fear a lot of parents have? It to that degree, I don't know, but still stick with me for this story. There's a parent, they look at their kid and they realize at some point this kid's going to realize like I'm not the perfect parent. And not only are they going to realize I'm not perfect, they're also not going to need me. And then they're going to start to become self-reliant, which also means that my role in their life is going to have to shift. And the amount of influence I have over what they do and where they go is going to diminish and shift. And if they change, I might have to change. And that is scary. Imagine being this parent and you're looking at your kid and you're thinking this. And so amidst trying to raise this child, you also feed it a lot of fear, so it only becomes but so independent of you. You feed it just like fears of scarcity, fears of death, despair, loss, fears of inequality, fears of, abuse. And maybe you even participate in making that abuse a reality. Imagine being this parent. Like how sick and twisted you gotta be to be this parent. Come on. Like this is weird. Right? But still, you balance all this craziness in your head as a parent out by still nurturing and loving them and saying, I'm going to protect you from all those fears I told you about. All that abuse you endured that I kind of set you up for, I'm going to protect you from it. And so they trust you, but they're confused. And then all that nurturing and loving eventually pays off. The kid still grows up one day and looks up and says, I still got to figure this crap out by myself. I still got to work this life out by myself. And I think I'm kind of capable. As a matter of fact, I don't even know why I think like this. I don't even know where did this belief come from? And they start still doing exactly what your biggest fear was. They start looking at you sideways as the parent. Sorry, this is not a news story. You watching this video, you're the observer. So this child eventually does grow up and it takes a minute, but eventually they start looking at their parent sideways, even though that's what the parent feared all along. The child still becomes independent and they still look at the parent sideways, just like what the parent feared all along. But now it's worse because the kid now has actual trauma that can be traceably induced by the parent. And has an exaggerated amount of fear that was cultivated by the parent and not naturally experienced. So the child starts to slowly rebel because now they're not quite a child. They're a little bit of an adult, right? The parent starts to see this and they say, what should I do? They try to subdue the child and they realize the tactics that they've used aren't really working anymore. And so how do they handle it? They just go get another kid. This time, it's not their kid. They say, no, I'm going to get someone else's kid. I'm going to adopt a kid. Because the trauma you probably go through as an adopted kid, I don't know. I know quite a few adopted kids, actually. That's not true. But they all have very interesting backgrounds. But not everybody who's an adopted kid has a terrible story. That's not true. But this parent is going for the adopted kid with the hard story. They want them. Why do they want them? Because this kid is not going to turn on me. They're going to be grateful. They have to be, right? This kid has to be grateful. Like, come on, I'm better than where you came from. I'm a parent. I'm better than where you came from, right? But I'm still going to feed you the same lies. I'm still going to induce a little bit of trauma. But I'm going to give you a little bit extra love just so that you don't turn on me. But that extra love Child still grows up because growing up has to happen. Growing up is a part of life. A child still grows up and still starts to look up, and they're a little more battered and bruised than the other kid, but they got thicker skin. And they're looking like, some of what I went through was extra weird when I got around you. Maybe you weren't the best thing that happened to me. You weren't the worst, but you're certainly not the best. And so they still grow, and they still change, and they still begin to think for themselves, and they still start to distance themselves from the parent. Parent is once again in panic mode. The child is leaving me. They don't look at me like I have stars in my eyes. They don't look at me like I'm the best thing in the world anymore. And now they're in panic mode, and they say, oh, I'm going to get another kid. I'm just going to get another kid, and I'm going to try the same formula again. This time, I'm going to get a foreign kid. I'm going to get a foreign kid. And this foreign kid, I mean, come on. Like, you're foreign, I have money, and, like, come on. Like, you can't do better than me. But I'm going to try the same tactic over again. Now, I don't know about you, but telling this story feels crazy. I'm going somewhere with it, but it feels crazy. They try the same tactic with this other kid. The thing is this foreign kid, though, they got grit like you ain't never seen before. So even in their appreciation, this isn't gonna last long. Now I want you to imagine that exact story, but I want you to swap it out with like groups of people. The parent is your government. The groups of people are white America, black America, and immigrants. Kid number 1, poor white America. Kid number 2, black America. Kid number 3, immigrants. This narrative of life is unfair, I will take care of you, but I'm also going to participate in making it unfair so you never turn against me and you remain hyper dependent on my leadership, but I'm still going to love you because I love you. No, you don't. You need me to feel validated and to feel useful. You were supposed to lead me to be independent of you to make all of us better. And you didn't do that. And when I no longer needed you because I realized that you're actually to my detriment, you cast me aside and replaced me. You guys, someone's gonna watch this video and they're gonna be like, this is toxic, this is replacement theory. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Like, I did not know what replacement theory was before I had this thought. I really didn't. I still don't fully know what it is. I've heard things about it being like rooted in racism, like white people saying like, oh, they're replacing us with immigrants. I don't actually understand what this theory is. I refuse to research it before I produce this video so I can genuinely say I don't know what it is. I've heard bits and pieces of it in interviews, but I'm giving you that analogy because I want you to look at what the government has done. They've consistently mapped out and cast this narrative of victimhood and of unfairness. They cast it on poor white people and then turned them against everyone and then said, you should be afraid of everyone. And then when poor white people realized like, hey, and it's really not that bad, they said, oh, we can't use you, cast you aside, we can't work with you. And then they basically did the same thing to black people. Everyone's against you. This is such an unfair society, but I'm the one making it unfair. But this is such an unfair society. Oh, but then in all that love and care you were giving, you allowed them to go to school. Do you know that one of the most dangerous things that sets a society up to be for a civil war or rebellion is a heavily educated society? You just set these people up to turn against you by allowing them, by subsidizing education through predatory lending. That's another conversation. You set them up to turn against you. That's why in each parenting experience, you gave them too much love and now they're equipped with the skills necessary to start thinking for themselves in some capacity to look at you and say, something's not right about our relationship. Yeah, okay, the world is weird, but something's not right about our relationship either. And then and so what do? Oh, this kid's a bad one too, because look, now they're looking at me sideways, which is the thing I didn't want them to do. Let me go get a new kid. And so what do? Let's emphasize opening borders. I have no problem with immigrants coming to this country because immigrants have made this country great. That's what made this world great. But it's the motive that I'm challenging and I'm questioning. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Because that's how I thought about it. I was like, you guys just keep finding new groups. I would even add the LGBTQ group inside of it. That is like the interim between the immigrants. Because the group right now, I would say the immigrants are being groomed. The LGBTQ group happened under the Obama administration. But what do I know? I could just be short-sighted. Happy Wednesday.